This video is about the single mom GOT lost at the aquarium and a millionaire SAT beside her. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The late afternoon sun filtered through the massive glass panels of the aquarium, refracting into a kaleidoscope of colors that danced on the walls. The air was thick with the scent of salt water and the muted sounds of bubbling tanks, punctuated occasionally by the laughter of children and the soothing murmur of parents. For Leila Harper, a single mom of two, this was supposed to be a day of joy and wonder, a chance to escape the relentless chaos of her life. Instead, she felt like a solitary fish in an expansive ocean, lost amid the swirling currents. "Look, Mommy, look!" Her 6-year-old son Ethan tugged insistently at her hand, his wide eyes fixed on a massive tank filled with vibrant clownfish. She smiled down at him, her heart momentarily swelling with pride. He had always been captivated by the ocean and its creatures, a fascination that sparked during their last trip to the beach. But even the most beautiful moments couldn't quell the anxiety stirring within her. "Wow, buddy, they're amazing." She crouched beside him, planting her hands on her knees, and glanced at her younger daughter, Sophie, who was busy trying to catch the attention of a nearby turtle. The little girl's pigtails bobbed as she hopped up and down, her giggles punctuating the ambient sounds. Leila couldn't help but smile, yet a heavy sigh escaped her lips, echoing her internal struggle. Leila's eyes wandered, searching for a moment of solitude amid the bustling families. She loved her children fiercely, but motherhood had its layers of exhaustion, especially after the divorce. The ache of being alone in a crowded place felt magnified. It was as if she were carrying an invisible weight. Her thoughts drifted back to the arguments, the misunderstandings, and the finality of legal papers that had shattered her once hopeful dreams. "Mommy, can we go to the touch tank?" Ethan's voice broke through her reverie, his enthusiasm palpable, lighting up the corners of her heart. "Sure, sweetie," she replied, her voice brightening as she took his hand. They navigated through the sea of families, with Leila occasionally glancing at the vibrant displays of jellyfish and sea turtles that seemed to float in their own tranquil worlds. "Mommy, look, they're so squishy." Ethan pointed at the touch tank filled with starfish and sea cucumbers. His innocence and excitement washed over her like a soothing wave, easing her worries, if only momentarily. As they approached the tank, she noticed a slight commotion to her left. A tall man, impeccably dressed in an elegant navy suit that contrasted starkly with the casual attire of the aquarium goers. He stood out like a lighthouse among drifting boats. His sandy hair was tousled just enough to seem effortless, and his deep-set blue eyes sparkled with an intensity that momentarily caught her breath. "Wow, look at that!" he exclaimed, bending slightly to get a better view. His voice was rich and warm, radiating a kind of magnetic energy that drew Leila in. She felt an unexpected flutter in her stomach as she watched him interact with the children by the tank, his smile genuine and disarming. "Ethan, why don't you go touch it?" she urged, nudging him forward. "Can I, Mommy?" Ethan's eyes were alight with excitement as he approached the tank. "Of course, just be gentle," she replied, her attention momentarily split between her son and the man beside her. She caught glimpses of his laughter, the way he interacted with the kids around him, and Leila felt a strange pull, a curiosity she hadn't felt in a long time. "Isn't it amazing?" he said, turning toward her, his gaze locking onto hers with an intensity that made her heart race. "Yes, it is," she said, a little breathless. "They're so much softer than I thought they'd be." She glanced at Ethan, who was giggling as he tentatively prodded a starfish. "I'm Adrian, by the way," he said, extending a hand toward her. "You've got two little adventurers here." "Layla," she replied, shaking his hand. His grip was firm, and she noticed a faint hint of warmth lingering long after their hands separated. "Are they your only ones?" he asked, nodding toward Ethan and Sophie, who had now joined their brother at the tank, squealing with delight. "For now," she answered, forcing a smile to lighten the weight of her reality. "I have a boy and a girl. They keep me busy, that's for sure." "Busy is an understatement, I bet," he chuckled, his laughter infectious. "It's great to see them so happy. I can't remember the last time I felt this free." Leela tilted her head slightly, intrigued. "You don't have kids?" "Not yet," he said, his expression turning contemplative. "I guess I'm still figuring things out. Business tends to take over my life." His gaze drifted toward the tank before returning to her, a hint of vulnerability surfacing. "But moments like this, they remind me of what I'm missing." "And what is that?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. "Connection," he said simply, the word hanging in the air between them. "I see so many people wrapped up in their phones, missing moments like these. I don't want to be that guy." Her heart tightened. "I understand that all too well. Sometimes I feel like I'm missing out on life too, just trying to keep everything afloat." Adrian's eyes softened. "It's a tough balance, isn't it? But it sounds like you're doing an amazing job with them." "Thank you," she replied, the sincerity in his tone touching her unexpectedly. "It can be overwhelming, and there are days when I feel like I'm drowning in responsibilities, but I love them more than anything. Being a parent is the most rewarding job out there," he said, a hint of wistfulness in his voice. "And the hardest." Just then, Sophie, having finally lost interest in the turtles, tugged on Leela's skirt, her big brown eyes brimming with excitement. "Mommy, can we go see the sharks next?" "Of course, let's go find the sharks," Leela replied, turning to Adrian. "It was nice meeting you." "Likewise, Leela. I hope we bump into each other again," he said, his gaze lingering on her for just a moment longer than necessary. As she walked away, she couldn't shake the feeling of his presence, the connection they had shared amidst the chaos of the aquarium. Maybe it was just a fleeting moment, a brief escape from her reality. But as they moved toward the next exhibit, Leela felt a warmth blooming in her chest, a flicker of curiosity about what lay beyond the glass walls, both in the world of the aquarium and her own life. Little did she know that their paths were destined to entwine once more, each brush of fate pulling them into a deeper ocean of emotions and revelations that neither of them could foresee. The momentary thrill of meeting Adrian hung in the air long after they had parted ways. Leela felt it in the way her pulse quickened each time she caught sight of a flickering shadow beneath the water's surface. The aquarium, with its mesmerizing creatures swirling in their aquatic dance, seemed to fade into a backdrop of vivid colors and whimsical sounds, all while her thoughts revolved around the tall, striking man she had just met. "Mommy," Ethan's voice, filled with excitement, broke through her reverie as he pointed toward a massive tank. "Look at that, the sharks." Leela smiled and knelt next to him, the warm light filtering through the glass illuminating his cherubic features. "Wow, they're big, aren't they?" She felt a rush of affection as she studied his eager expression. The world around them, with all its wonders, faded into mere noise, and for a moment it was just her and her son. Sophie, meanwhile, had been captivated by the tiny clownfish darting around the anemone. "Mommy, look, they're playing hide-and-seek." Her little face sparkled with joy, and Leela's heart swelled at the innocent delight radiating from both her children. "Yes, they are, just like you and Ethan," she said, wrapping an arm around Sophie's shoulders, pulling her close. The warmth of her daughter's small frame felt grounding, a reminder of the simple joys that defined her chaotic life. But as they moved through the exhibit, Leela couldn't shake the shadow of Adrian's laughter from her mind. It had been a long time since someone had made her feel seen, not just as a mother but as a person, as an individual whose own dreams had been set aside for the sake of her children. As they walked along the moving walkway, she could almost hear the echoes of his voice, rich with sincerity, mingling with the gentle hum of the aquarium. "Mommy, can we go to the gift shop afterwards?" Ethan asked, tugging at her hand with a grin that could melt glaciers. "Sure, but just one thing each, okay?" She replied, ruffling his hair affectionately. Balancing her children's whims with her budget was another task she had mastered, one that felt like walking a tightrope. "Okay," Ethan cheered, his excitement infectious. "I want a shark." "Good choice," Leela laughed, already mentally calculating how much she could stretch their allowance. "And what about you, Sophie? What do you want?" Sophie pondered with her tiny brow furrowed in concentration. "A turtle," she announced, her voice firm with conviction. "All right, a turtle it is," Leela said, her heart warming at their shared moments of joy. "Now let's go see those sharks." As they approached the shark tank, the atmosphere shifted from playful excitement to awe. The water was illuminated with a soft light, casting shadows that danced along the walls. Leela watched as the sleek forms of the sharks glided gracefully through the water, their presence both intimidating and magnificent. "Look at their teeth, Mommy," Ethan exclaimed, wide-eyed with both fear and fascination. "They're like super scary," Sophie finished, her little hands gripping Leela's skirt tightly as she leaned against her leg. Leela chuckled softly, wrapping her arms around her children protectively. "They are a little scary, but they're also amazing creatures, just like how you guys are brave when you try something new." As they admired the sharks, Leela's mind drifted again to Adrian. She wondered what he would think of her children, of their innocence and bright spirits. Would he see the beauty in their laughter like she did? Or would he view them as just another responsibility in her already complicated life? "Can we go see the penguins next?" Ethan asked, breaking her thoughts once more. "Sure, let's go," Leela replied, ushering her children onward. They made their way through the aquarium, stopping occasionally to marvel at the various exhibits until they reached the penguin enclosure. The small, tuxedoed birds waddled around, their antics eliciting laughter from the small crowd. Leela felt her heart lighten. The bubbling laughter of children, her own included, surrounded her like a comforting blanket. It was moments like these that reminded her of the joy she had sought when they first arrived. "Mommy, look, they're swimming." Sophie pointed at the penguins as they dove into the water with surprising agility. Leela couldn't help but smile, her worries momentarily forgotten in the whirlpool of their collective joy. "Do you think they're having fun?" she mused out loud, her thoughts drifting. "I think they are," Ethan replied confidently. "Maybe they're planning a big adventure." "A big adventure, huh?" Leela laughed, feeling a renewed sense of lightness. "Like what?" "Like going to find treasure on a sunken ship," he declared, his imagination soaring. "Or maybe they'll discover a new island where all the fish play." Sophie chimed in, her little eyes sparkling with excitement. "Exactly, and they will be the bravest penguins ever," Leela exclaimed, caught up in their enthusiasm. As they watched the penguins splash and dive, Leela's heart swelled with gratitude. These moments, where laughter and imagination collided, were the treasures she cherished above all. Yet in the back of her mind, the image of Adrian lingered like a whisper. "Mommy, can we take pictures with the penguins?" Ethan asked, his excitement palpable. "Of course, let's snap a few," Leela replied, pulling out her phone. She captured their gleaming smiles, their laughter ringing through the air like little bells. Just as she was about to take another picture, she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Looks like a fun adventure." Adrian's voice was smooth like warm honey, bringing an unexpected rush of warmth to her cheeks. "Adrian," Leela turned, her heart racing slightly at the sight of him. He was leaning casually against the railing, a playful smile dancing across his lips. "What are you doing here?" "Just enjoying the wonders of the ocean," he replied, his gaze drifting to the penguins before settling back on her. "And it seems I've stumbled upon a lovely family outing." "Yeah, just us three," she said, a mix of pride and shyness washing over her. "These little adventurers keep me busy." He raised an eyebrow, an amused glint in his eye. "Busy, huh? Looks like you're doing an amazing job at it." "Thank you," she replied, feeling both flattered and flustered. There was something magnetic about him, an energy that made her heart flutter and her thoughts scatter. "Do you want to join us for a picture?" she offered, surprising herself with the sudden boldness. This day had been filled with laughter, and the thought of sharing another moment felt exhilarating. "Absolutely," Adrian said, stepping closer with a confidence that sent butterflies tumbling in her stomach. Leela quickly gathered her children, and they all squeezed together, Adrian's presence fortifying her, a sturdy anchor amidst the chaos of her life. "Say penguin," Leela cheered, her eyes brightening as she snapped the picture. "Penguin," they all chimed in unison, laughter erupting as they posed beside the waddle of animated birds. When she reviewed the picture, her heart skipped. The warmth in Adrian's smile, so genuine, so inviting, blended seamlessly with her children's pure joy. It was a small moment, but it felt monumental, as if the universe had aligned to create this snapshot of happiness. "Do you come here often?" Adrian asked, leaning casually against the railing again, the easy manner of conversation flowing like water. "Not really," Leela admitted, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "This is our first trip since the divorce." His expression softened, understanding flickering in his eyes. "I can only imagine. It must be a lot to juggle everything." "It is," she said, the words slipping out before she could think. "Some days it feels impossible, but I wouldn't trade them for anything." A moment of silence passed between them, filled with a connection that felt both fragile and strong. It was as if they had shared a secret, a thread of unspoken understanding woven between their stories. "What about you?" Leela asked, curious about the man who seemed both grounded and free. "What brings you to the aquarium?" "Honestly," he chuckled lightly, "I needed a break from the boardroom. Sometimes it's easy to forget what really matters amidst all the chaos of business." Leela could empathize with that sentiment. Life does have a way of distracting us from the simple joys, doesn't it? He nodded thoughtfully. "Exactly. Moments like this, watching kids embrace wonder, it reminds me why I work so hard in the first place." She studied him, noticing the depth in his blue eyes, the way he spoke with passion and conviction. "You're really good with kids," she observed, feeling a mixture of admiration and intrigue. "Thanks, I guess I just appreciate their perspective on life. They're so open and honest," he said, his gaze shifting to Sophie, who was now mesmerized by the penguin's antics. "Your kids are lucky to have you." Leela felt a blush creeping up her cheeks, warmth radiating. The warmth radiating from Adrian's compliment sent a pleasant shiver down Leela's spine. She tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, feeling an unfamiliar flutter of excitement mixed with the familiar backdrop of her responsibilities. "Thank you, they make every chaotic moment worth it," she replied, swallowing the lump forming in her throat. "I think you'd make a great dad someday." Adrian's eyes lit up at her words and a slow smile crept across his face. "You really think so?" he asked, his tone teasing but layered with sincerity. "I mean, I've never really thought about it seriously. I'm just kind of the guy who runs a business." "Well, the guy who runs a business is clearly good with kids," Leela said, gesturing toward Ethan, who was now demonstrating how he could hop like a penguin. "And you seem comfortable with that chaos, so maybe you'd surprise yourself one day." Adrian chuckled, a rich sound that resonated with ease. I wouldn't count it out. It's just, well, it's not that easy to find the right person, you know, someone who gets the juggling act. Tell me about it, Leela replied, her gaze softening as she glanced at Adrian. It took me a while to realize that my happiness mattered too. I got lost in being a mom, and sometimes I still feel like I'm trying to find my way. A shadow crossed Adrian's face and his smile faltered for a moment. I can understand that. I've been caught up in my own version of lost for a while now. The weight of his words hung in the air, an echo of shared understanding. But every now and then, something like this happens, and it reminds me of what I'm missing. Leela felt a pang of recognition. It's easy to forget what we want when we're busy chasing what we think we should want, she said, her voice quiet yet firm. Sometimes, just stopping to breathe is all it takes to see things clearly again. He nodded, his expression thoughtful. Maybe today is one of those days for both of us. Moments passed as they stood side by side, their children absorbed in the world of animated penguins. Leela stole glances at Adrian, captivated not only by his charm, but by the sincerity that flowed freely between them. The space felt electric, and for the first time in years, she found herself wishing for something just beyond the horizon of her daily life, something that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Should we head over to the touch tank again? Adrian suggested, breaking the comfortable silence. I think the kids would love to see the starfish again. Absolutely. I think they could spend the whole day there, Leela replied with a smile, eager to let the children lead the way. As the four of them wandered back toward the touch tank, Leela couldn't help but feel a growing sense of ease around Adrian. The conversation flowed effortlessly, their laughter mingling with the bubbling sounds of the aquarium. It was as if they had formed a small bubble of warmth, separate from the bustling world around them. Do you have a favorite animal in the aquarium? Adrian asked, nudging her playfully with his shoulder as they walked. That's a tough one, Leela mused, genuinely pondering the question. I think I'd have to say the sea turtles. They seem so wise and peaceful, gliding through their water like they're part of something much bigger. I can see that, he replied, a thoughtful expression gracing his features. They have that calm aura about them. What about your kids? She glanced down at Ethan and Sophie, who had already darted ahead toward the touch tank. Ethan loves sharks. He's convinced he's going to be a marine biologist one day. She chuckled, pride swelling within her. And Sophie has a penchant for anything cute, so turtles and clownfish are her favorites. Good choices, Adrian chuckled. Maybe I should start a business focused on marine life. I could use your kids as my focus group. Leela laughed, imagining their earnest little faces critiquing his selections with the seriousness of seasoned professionals. They'd probably give you a hard time and demand ice cream for their services. Deal, ice cream it is, Adrian said, his eyes sparkling with joy as he stepped closer, his shoulder brushing against hers. I'm happy to take two great critics along for the ride. The playful banter filled her with warmth. It was moments like these, amidst the chaos of their surroundings and the chatter of children, that Leela felt a flicker of hope, a spark of something that had long been buried beneath the weight of her responsibilities. As they reached the touch tank, the excitement of the children was palpable. Leela watched as Ethan eagerly reached out to touch the starfish, his face lighting up with delight. Adrian knelt beside him, guiding his hands gently. Nice and easy, just like that, he instructed, his tone filled with warmth and encouragement. Sophie, meanwhile, was entranced by a nearby sea cucumber, her tiny fingers hovering over it as she whispered, "What's your name?" Leela's heart swelled. It was moments like these that reminded her of the innocence and wonder that still existed in a world filled with chaos. "Do you feel that?" Adrian asked, leaning slightly closer as they both observed the children. That's the beauty of being present. It's like a reminder of how magical life can be. Leela turned to him, her heart racing at the proximity. Yes, it really is, she agreed, her gaze locking onto his. There was something in his expression, an understanding, a shared vulnerability that felt so rare. I've been so focused on everything I've lost. I forgot how to embrace what's right in front of me. That's the journey, isn't it? Adrian said softly, his voice low and earnest. Finding that balance between what we've lost and what we can gain. Just then, Ethan turned to them, bubbling with excitement. Mommy, Mr. Adrian, look at this starfish. It has 4 arms. He held it up triumphantly, his joy infecting the air around them. Leela smiled, her heart racing in response to the warmth of the moment. That's amazing, buddy. Can I touch it too? Sophie asked, bouncing on her tiny feet as she peered over Ethan's shoulder. Of course. Just be gentle, Adrian encouraged, his hand casually resting on Leela's lower back as he moved closer to help the children. The small touch sent a jolt through her, a warmth that settled deep within her core. As the children laughed and played, Leela found herself lost in the moment. There was a beauty in the chaos, a connection that felt significant. It was as if the world around them, with its vibrant colors and swirling creatures, had become a backdrop for something deeper. Their laughter echoed in the space, blending with the sounds of bubbling water and joyful children. Leela felt her heart swell, each moment stringing together into a tapestry of warmth and connection. But as the day began to draw to a close, she felt a twinge of anxiety at the thought of impending goodbyes. What's next on your adventure? Adrian asked, drawing her from her thoughts as he casually leaned against the tank, his eyes searching hers. I think we might stop by the gift shop, Leela replied, forcing a smile. But I have to set some limits on the loot. Limits make it even more fun, he said, his voice light yet meaningful. It's like a treasure hunt. You have to think carefully about what you want. Exactly, Leela laughed, the playful exchange making her heart flutter in a way she hadn't expected. But you know what? I'm also thinking about ice cream afterwards. Now that sounds like a perfect ending to a perfect day, Adrian said, his gaze steady as it held hers. Can I join you? Really, I'd love that, she replied, surprised by her own eagerness. I didn't want to impose. He waved a dismissive hand. You're not imposing at all. I'd love to spend more time with you and your charming adventurers. His expression shifted, becoming softer, more sincere. If you're okay with that, of course. Of course, the more the merrier. Leela felt a thrill of excitement ripple through her, her heart racing at the prospect of spending more time with him. Let's make it a little adventure of our own. As they headed toward the gift shop, Leela felt a sense of lightness she hadn't experienced in years. Adrian's presence felt like a breath of fresh air, and she couldn't help but wonder what the future might hold. Maybe, just maybe, it was time to open her heart again, to embrace the possibility of connection, even in the midst of chaos. When they reached the shop, the kids darted toward the shelves, eagerly scanning the colorful toys and trinkets. Leela picked up a small plush shark for Ethan and a turtle for Sophie, her heart swelling with pride as she watched them bounce with excitement. Look, I found a cool seashell, Ethan declared, holding it up triumphantly. Can I get it too, Mommy? Please. Leela smiled, glancing toward Adrian. Whose keen blue eyes sparkled with amusement at Ethan's enthusiasm. What do you think? Can a boy have too many treasures from the sea? Adrian chuckled, feigning a thoughtful expression as he scratched his chin. I think the real question is, can you ever have too many memories? Ethan, ever the dreamer, chimed in. Mommy, can I keep it forever? It can be my lucky charm. His fingers wrapped around the shell, holding it protectively to his chest. All right, little man, Leela said, her heart melting at his earnestness. "But it has to stay safe with your other treasures." "Yay, thanks, Mommy." He squealed, his voice echoing through the shop. He darted toward the cashier, eager to secure his finds. Sophie, meanwhile, was captivated by a colorful display of marine-themed plush toys, her fingers brushing against the soft fabric. "Look, Mommy, can I have this turtle, please?" Her large doe eyes sparkled with innocence, and Leela couldn't resist her daughter's charm. "Just one thing from the shop, remember?" Leela reminded her gently, though she could feel the weight of fatigue creeping back into her bones. Adrian stepped closer, his presence adding warmth to the moment. "You both have excellent taste. Why don't we let Sophie pick first? That way, Ethan can help her decide." Ethan beamed at the idea, launching himself toward his sister. "Do you want the turtle, Sophie? It's super cute." He reached for the plush, holding it like a trophy. "Yes, it's the best." Sophie squealed, wrapping her arms around the turtle in delight. Leela watched the two of them, a smile stretching across her face. "Looks like we have a winner. Just remember, we have to be mindful of our treasure hunt budget." "I promise," Ethan said, puffing out his chest as if to demonstrate his serious resolve. Adrian took a step back, allowing Leela to take the lead with her children. "I'll let you two handle the negotiation business," he said, crossing his arms, his stance relaxed yet attentive. Leela felt a pleasant warmth radiate from his presence. "You're a good influence, making them feel like they're part of the decision-making process," she said, her voice softening. "I appreciate that. It's easy to get caught up in the no's and don'ts with kids," Adrian replied, his gaze thoughtful. "But seeing the world through their eyes is magical. There's a kind of freedom in it." "Exactly," Leela said, her heart swelling at the depth of his words. "Sometimes I feel like I'm so busy being a parent, I forget to see the world through their eyes. Then you should take time to rediscover it. It's never too late to find the child within." He leaned closer, his voice lowering. "I think you'd find it liberating." Caught in his gaze, Leela felt a flutter in her stomach. She wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that she could reclaim some parts of herself that had slipped away amidst the tumult of motherhood and divorce. "You're right," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's just hard to find the time." "Maybe it doesn't have to be a grand adventure," Adrian suggested, his tone encouraging. "Even little moments like this one can open doors to something more." "Mommy, look." Ethan's voice broke through their connection, snapping Leela back to the present. He held the seashell aloft like a trophy, a triumphant grin plastered on his face. "I got it." "Yes, you did," Leela exclaimed, her heart buoyed by their shared excitement. "Time to check out, and then we can head for that ice cream." The children led the way to the register, their energy infectious, while Leela and Adrian followed closely behind. The small, colorful shop buzzed with laughter and excitement, and she found herself enjoying the moment's chaos. As they approached the cashier, Adrian leaned in closer, lowering his voice. "So, what's your favorite flavor?" he asked, a playful glint in his eye. "I'm a classic vanilla girl," Leela replied, her cheeks warming at his proximity. "But I do love a good mint chocolate chip." "Mint chocolate chip, bold choice," he teased, raising an eyebrow as they stepped up to the counter. "I respect that. I think it's the best. You can't argue with that level of flavor, can you?" She replied, her heart racing with a mix of playful banter and genuine connection. Adrian laughed. "Fair point. I'll admit I'm a fan of Rocky Road myself. Adds a little bit of chaos to the mix." "Ah, so you're a man who enjoys a bit of unpredictability." "Always," he said, his expression serious yet playful. "Life's too short to stick to plain vanilla." Their banter continued as they paid for their treasures. Leela felt lighter, the burdens of the day momentarily lifted. With each shared laugh, she found herself drawn further into Adrian's orbit, the chemistry between them growing tangible in the air. Once they finished, they exited the shop, the late afternoon sun casting a warm glow over everything. "Where to next, adventurers?" Adrian asked, looking down at the kids with a twinkle in his eye. "Ice cream," Sophie cheered, bouncing on her feet. "Right to the ice cream stand we go," Leela declared, heartened by their excitement. They began walking, Adrian falling into step beside her. "So," he started, turning toward her, "what's the best ice cream place around here? I'm relying on your expertise." "There's a little stand just outside the aquarium," Leela said, her voice growing softer as their shoulders brushed again. "They have the best homemade flavors, the kind that just melts in your mouth." "Sounds amazing. I knew I could count on you to lead the way." Leela felt a rush of warmth at his words, the compliment hanging between them like an unspoken promise. It's just one of those little joys that makes life brighter. As they approached the ice cream stand, Leela felt a sense of ease wash over her. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows and golden light across the pavement. She watched as Ethan and Sophie eagerly scanned the colorful menu, their expressions filled with wonder. "What are you going to get?" Ethan asked, his eyes darting between choices. "I want mint chocolate chip," Sophie exclaimed, her little fingers pointing decisively. "Good choice. It's like you're channeling your mother's taste," Adrian remarked, a playful smile gracing his lips. "Yes, Mommy loves it," Sophie beamed, glancing up at Leela, who felt a swell of pride. "What about you, big guy?" Adrian asked Ethan, bending down to meet him eye to eye. "I want Rocky Road," Ethan declared, puffing out his chest with pride, as if he were making a grand proclamation. "Great choice. We'll have a full roster of flavors," Adrian replied, a grin on his face. As they stepped up to the counter, the children excitedly rattled off their choices. Leela watched, her heart swelling as they engaged with the staff, their enthusiasm infectious. Adrian waited patiently, stealing glances her way, an amused smile playing on his lips. "What about you, Leela?" he asked when it was her turn. "Are you sticking with vanilla?" Leela glanced at the menu, suddenly feeling overwhelmed by the myriad of options. "You know what? I'll go for something adventurous. How about a scoop of strawberry cheesecake?" "Ooh, nice choice," Adrian said, his eyes gleaming with approval. As they placed their orders, Leela felt a subtle thrill at being in the moment, not just as a mother but as a woman rediscovering herself. When they finally received their ice cream, Leela found herself standing next to Adrian, their shoulders brushing as they surveyed the scene. The sun dipped lower, casting a golden glow across the bustling crowd of families gathering for the evening. "This is perfect," Adrian said, his voice low and intimate as he glanced at the children, watching them enjoy every little moment. "It really is," Leela replied, her heart fluttering. "It's refreshing to step away from the pressures of life, even if just for a moment." "Exactly. It's moments like this that make life worthwhile." Leela felt a sudden rush of emotions swirling within her. This day had been more than just an outing. It had become a glimpse into a possibility she had thought lost forever. She looked at Adrian, his expression sincere, and something deep within her stirred, a yearning for connection. "Thank you for being a part of this day," she said, her voice barely a whisper amidst the chatter surrounding them. "I really needed it." Adrian turned to her, his gaze steady and warm. "The pleasure is mine. I think we both needed a little reminder that life can be beautiful." Their eyes locked, and for a moment the world around them faded. Leela felt the